A big part of my work involves working with people who have been assaulted. Now, some people manage to just shrug it off, they can bounce back and just carry on. But for many people, it can have a lasting impact on their psyche and on their behavior, how they live their life. So, when a person has been assaulted, it gives rise to a variety of symptoms. One of the key things that happens when a person has been assaulted is they experience uh, flashbacks of the incident, and they'll find themselves reliving the incident, again and again in different forms. They might find themselves ruminating about what they could have done, what they should have done. Sometimes they will even have fantasy kind of thinkings where they're just imagining themselves taking revenge, doing this, doing that, hurting the other person, killing the other person. So, they so that keeps repeating itself in their heads, and they can be very preoccupied with that. And then along with that, there's a whole series of emotions that arise from an incident where a person has been assaulted. A big piece that comes up is embarrassment, humiliation, and it can really adversely impact a person's self-esteem. So they feel really humiliated by what took place, and as a consequence of that, they can experience a real downturn in their mood. They can literally fall into a state of severe depression, even, which can last a very long time. You know, months, perhaps even years. It can happen depending upon the severity of the assault and where it happened and how it happened. So, a big consequence of an assault is self-esteem, humiliation, embarrassment, and then as a consequence of that, this plummeting of a person's mood. Aside from that, some other symptoms that come up for people, anger and resentment, that can be a big presence in the after picture of the incident. People are just very irritable, they're very upset, they're very angry, and they can be very reactive. That can sort of happen pretty much anywhere, very frequently. Very often it comes out in the family circle where they're very angry and just irritable, reactive, and short tempered, and they're just very easily angered. So it kind of brings about a change in the person. And they become like a wholly different person than they used to be. A fear can be a big part of the after picture. Person can have a lot of fear about the incident arising again, getting attacked again, and that may curtail their activities. They may not want to step out of the house, or they may not want to go to certain places. They might avoid going out at night, for example, if the attack happened at night. So they may become very safety focused, not only about themselves, but also about their family members, people that they care about. And sometimes they can become really overbearing about that, and it can create a lot of tension between them and their family members, because they have this sort of hyper safety focus, and they keep intruding on other people, and they're constantly fretting and worrying about other people's safety and trying to get people to do things to ensure that they're safe. But of course, other people are not in their frame of mind, so they may not get it, and as a result of that, conflict can arise between a person who's been assaulted and their relationships, because there's this hyper safety focus that's come into the picture after the assault. There are other things that also happen. A person might have nightmares, they may have bad dreams. So these nightmares and bad dreams, they could be about the incident itself, about the assault itself, or they could be about anything else bad happening. A person is being chased by a mob, or accidents, or fire. It could be they themselves that are in these nightmares, or in these dreams, or other family members in these dreams and nightmares. So that can happen, and their sleep can be very disrupted. It's just sort of these really negative experiences that are arising. I would say almost all my patients experience a lot of anxiety when they've gone through something like a physical attack. It's just pervasive. It's everywhere. Increases their resting anxiety level, so that they're very nervous and very fidgety and very anxious and restless and agitated. And they can also develop anxiety attacks, where they just get just overwhelmed very, very easily, and they start to panic. They can experience bodily kind of symptoms like shaking and trembling, and sort of heart racing, and dry mouth syndrome, perspiring profusely. So these bodily symptoms can happen when they're having an anxiety or panic attack. And that's a very frequent thing that happens when a person has undergone an assault. The symptoms can run on literally for years. They can become very withdrawn socially, and stop interacting with their friends and family members. They can also they very preoccupied, very stuck within themselves. And as I said, they can become really sort of hyper focused on safety, and really fret about their own safety and the safety of their friends and family members and people they care about. So, as you can see, there's a whole array of different symptoms that arise, a massive cluster of symptoms that very often completely changes the person's life. And it's not for just a week or two. It can run on for literally sometimes for years, and for some people they're permanently altered, depending upon what took place and what happened. I have patients like that, as a matter of fact, who experienced an assault, a decade ago, some 20 years ago, the incident happened, and they were never the same again. So, having talked about what can actually happen, I want to talk a little bit about how the recovery takes place. For those people, like, I'm not talking about people who have sort of bounced back and carried on with their lives. I'm talking about obviously people who haven't been able to do that. The recovery process is a very slow process, and it requires rebuilding trust and safety again, which is a very slow, methodical process. It requires a lot of mental processing. It requires learning how to manage emotions. It requires learning how to manage one's body, because very frequently when people have symptoms, the body is reacting before they're even thinking about what's happening around them. So they have to learn not only how to manage their emotions, but they also have to learn how to manage their bodies, and they have to learn how to manage their thought process. They have to rebuild their self-esteem and rebuild trust in the world around them. So there are many, many pieces that need to be reconstructed, and that can take a lot of time. That is a psychologist's job, and it can be lengthy and it can be time consuming. People can do really well, they can make a lot of progress, but it really does take quite a bit of time and effort, and it's slow, methodical work that requires a great deal of patience. So I hope this video has given you some insight into what can happen when a person has been assaulted. I didn't mention a few things that, and obviously I could talk a lot more about this, and this is just a small video. But I didn't mention, a few things that people continue to experience, like, they may experience just bouts of crying, just emotionality. They may experience, they may have a tendency to just break down, and very often they experience these highs and lows, which can create a lot of turbulence in their lives and the lives of people around them. It can be very difficult, very hard for people to recover from a physical assault. And it can be also difficult for the family members who live with them. But recovery is possible. Recovery does happen. A person can be whole again, but it takes a great deal of time and effort for those people who have not been able to recover. So obviously, I'm not talking about those people who somehow were able to shake it off and then carry on. But I'd say those are lucky ones. But many people actually, vast majority of people, I would say, are not like that. They're not back to who they used to be. Anyway, I hope this video has been of some help in shedding some light on this entire picture of assault and what happens after that. And so if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them behind, and I'll try and answer them for you. Good luck. Take care.